What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am, and if you are, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam. The crazy emo kid is gonna try to fight you next time you're in class. Yeah, that's not worth it, so I would press the like button. Real talk though, guys, today I have a story time about one time when I was in PE, and this emo kid ended up fighting the PE teacher because he said that he would rather do that than exercise. Even though that doesn't make a lot of sense, because I feel like fighting the teacher is still more exercise than running the lap would be. Regardless, he did end up fighting the PE teacher, and it was just an absolutely insane situation. So I figured I'd turn it into a story time. So without further ado, let's get into it.
It's not good. Nice racking her ass Brazilian. Just turned 21, but my bank's a million. Swear I'm a little drunk, but it's a hell of a feeling.
Alright guys, so as I'm sure a lot of you know, for some reason when I was in high school, there must have been like during the main phase where being emo was really cool. I don't know if it was just because Twilight was still relatively popular and everybody wanted to be a vampire and get bitten by Edward Cullen or whatever, or I don't know, just that where I lived was weird. But for some reason, there was a massive amount of emo kids in my school, and there was one particular kid in my emo class who was not only emo, but a rare breed of emo, where he was insanely lazy. And I'm not saying that when I think of emo kids, like the ability to be super active and loving PE is the first thing that pops into my mind, but certainly when like I think of an emo kid, I don't think of the type of person who would unironically cry whenever he was asked to run the lap in PE, and that is the level of lazy that this one emo kid was. Like, seriously, dude, one time our PE coach got mad at us and said we were gonna have to run laps for a week because we had just been, you know, not listening to him or whatever, and this kid unironically just bursted into tears at the thought of having to work out and, like, told this whole sob story about how his feet really hurt after he runs, so therefore he shouldn't be able or forced to work out and whatnot. And listen, dude, I get it, a lot of people hate PE, but we were at the point in high school where if you were taking PE, you elected to choose it. So this kid was crying about having to run the lap, but also was dumb enough to sign up for another year of PE, so I don't really know what his issue was. And that's who we're going to be talking about today. He's the kid who ended up trying to fight the PE teacher, and for the purpose of this story, I'm going to give him a name. It's not going to be his real name, obviously, so I'm going to name him O'Malley. So O'Malley was an emo kid of Irish descent, and what made him really funny about him trying to be emo, aside from the fact that he was lazy, was the fact that, you know, he was a ginger, which there's nothing wrong with being a ginger. I have a lot of friends that are ginger, but emo kids trying to be ginger is really funny, because no matter how many black clothes you wear or how often you paint your fingernails black, you're always gonna have red hair. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, our PE teacher was one of those type of guys who thought that tough love was like a great way to get through to kids, and I mean, sure, for some people it definitely works, but he was also the type of guy wearing like really high short shorts, blowing the whistle in our ear at 6 a.m. and screaming at us that we were lazy. And that being said, he especially did not like this O'Malley kid because, as I've said earlier, he would like cry about running laps or just constantly complain, and whenever he would complain, the coach would just roll his eyes and yell at everybody to keep going, or like, you know, whenever he was making sure that people were getting whatever he thought we were supposed to be doing done, he would go over to O'Malley and like check on him specifically. They just did not get along. They really did not get along, which, look, if I was a PE teacher and I had some kid who was literally bursting into tears about running a lap around the basketball courts, I would probably be pretty annoyed too, because believe it or not, you can run a lap around the basketball courts without crying. So they were just overall did not get along from the very beginning, and they would butt heads and argue all the time. And you know, as it usually is when you're in school, the teacher would usually win the argument by making this kid run more laps, and then he would cry, and it was just a vicious cycle. So that being said, outside of the class, they definitely did not like each other, and they barely tolerated each other as it is. So whenever we would be outside of class, this O'Malley kid was the type of kid who loved to talk trash about how tough he was and how awesome he is. So outside of class, he would tell basically everybody that would listen about how, like, one day he was just gonna snap and fight our PE teacher, and, you know, our PE teacher was so lucky that he had promised his girlfriend he was gonna stop fighting, or he would have knocked him out, and stuff like that, which, listen, man, I don't think it's actually that dope to be able to say you're gonna, like, knock out a teacher, because, yeah, we probably should be able to if you're a teenager. You're, like, in the prime of your life, right? But that being said, you definitely definitely was not going to knock out our PE teacher, because our PE teacher was, for lack of a better word, built like a mountain, dude. He was 6'80", could probably eat with the giraffes off the top branch of every eucalyptus tree, and on top of that, he could bench all of Australia. Like, this dude was huge. So whenever he would go out there spouting about how one day he was going to fight him and whatnot, everybody would just kind of roll their eyes and be like, yeah, because our PE teacher was just a mammoth of a man, and it was very unlikely that if he ever tried to fight him, he would get any further than like two sounds being heard. The sound of him picking the fight and the sound of him hitting the floor as the teacher like threw him to Narnia. Anyways, this O'Malley kid is just keeping talking trash over and over again, and eventually it gets back to our PE teacher, and we didn't really knew that it had gotten back to our PE teacher because he never really acted mad about it. But then one day, which is the meat of the story, we knew for sure he had heard about it, because we go into a class and I look at the whiteboard and I see that we're doing like a wrestling unit, which honestly, I'm gonna rant about that for a second. That is by far the worst part of PE, dude. PE is already weird enough when you're a teenager. I have to change in the locker room and be around all these guys that care way too much about flag football, and now you want me to wrestle kids that I literally have just witnessed eating deodorant in the locker room for a grade. Like, that's just the worst. But regardless, that's really not important to the story. We all get out into like the gym area where all the mats are set up, and we're just kind of standing there as our coach is kind of explaining like how it works and, you know, the rules and whatnot, because believe it or not, you really have to slow down and explain to teenage boys how to wrestle. Otherwise, you're going to turn around and they're all going to be like RKOing each other, and the school is going to have 50,000 lawsuits on their hands. So he's just making sure that we know how to do it safely and whatnot, and we're not trying to hurt each other, blah, blah, blah. And finally, he gets towards the end of it and he looks at the O'Malley kid and he says, hey, do you want to demonstrate and wrestle with me, considering you're running around school telling everybody how you could destroy me in a fight? And obviously, when he says that, the entire crowd of people in PE just go like, oh, because when a teacher calls out a kid for talking crap about being able to fight him, you know, that's what kids do. I'm not saying we were mature, but yeah, it's pretty funny to watch your teacher call out some emo kid and being like, I hear you've been talking crap. Do you actually want to throw down? But what catches us all by surprise is the O'Malley kid is like, yeah, let's go. And at this point, now we're all very interested, because I'm going to be honest, this O'Malley kid was just tiny. Like, there's nothing wrong with being small, dude. You just kind of have to be aware of it. So when a literal mountain challenges you to wrestle, it's probably not a good idea. But sure enough, the O'Malley kid is like, you know, getting all hyped up. There was a couple of other emo kids in our class that just weren't as outspoken, and they're kind of like hyping it up, telling him he's got this and whatnot. And everybody else is just hyped to watch. So our coach and this O'Malley kid like get into the starting position for wrestling, and they start wrestling, and sure enough, the O'Malley kid gets pinned in like under 2 seconds, right? And everybody's like laughing at him and whatnot, and obviously he feels embarrassed, and it wasn't like anybody was laughing at him to make him feel bad, but yeah, when you've been hearing this kid talking crap about how he's gonna be able to like body slam your teacher if he ever starts anything, and you know, he's so lucky he's not gonna fight him, and then they get to wrestle and he gets pinned in like 2 seconds, it's just very ironic. You know what I'm saying? I also think that's why something I've noticed is the more that people talk about how much that they need to be held back and the other person's so lucky that they're not able to fight, like, the less they can actually fight, dude. I mean, honestly, if you can't fight, if you can't wrestle, I don't understand the need to go around the school pretending like you were gonna beat up the man who is literally built like a dwarf from Lord of the Rings and can probably body slam you into Mordor. So he gets pinned and everybody starts laughing at him, and he gets pissed and he starts screaming that it's not funny, and our coach probably does the wrong move here, and he goes, I don't know, from where I'm sitting, I think this is hilarious, because keep in mind, he has him pinned, and that sets the kid off, and he starts, like, screaming, you know the rage where it's like, "Rah!" and like trying to get out from under the teacher, but obviously the teacher is just a lot bigger than the kid, so he's just kind of sitting there, and he's telling the kid, like, hey, calm down, because he can tell the kid's just getting irrational, and the kid now is just, like, screaming insults at the teacher, and everybody who's standing there watching, their face goes from like enjoyment and laughing to like, oh, this is very awkward. So finally the teacher gets off the kid and is like, okay, calm down. But when he gets off the kid, instead instead of him calming down, he turns around and just starts like scratching the teacher. And I don't mean hitting him, I mean literally like scratching the teacher. So the teacher is like, oh my god, you're scratching me, and starts like, trying to get away. And this kid, dude, is fighting like a Tasmanian devil. Oh my goodness. Like, you ever heard of the guy who just, takes all his clothes off in the fight and just starts biting people? Like, that's low-key what this kid's strategy was, dude. He was just attacking this teacher with his claws out and everything. It was absolutely mind-boggling to watch. And then it happens, dude. The teacher, I guess, had like finally had enough. So as the emo kid is just kind of flailing around like rah, rah, like an angry little rabbit, trying his best to just, not be cringe. I don't really know what his plan was, but it was not very well thought out, obviously. So at that point, our massive teacher, who I've told you multiple times looked like a mountain, does the obvious thing, and he grabs this kid by the arms, lifts him up into the air like it's like a pillow, dude. I've never seen anyone get picked up that easily, and slams him onto the mat and just yells, "Are you done?" And when he yells that, dude, the kid who like literally 30 seconds ago was like an angry jackrabbit, bro. It was like a scared little baby. He just bursts into tears and he's like, "I'm sorry. Let me up. Let me up." And the teacher's like, "No, I'm not gonna let you up." And the kid is crying and he's like, "Let me up." So after a minute of holding him down, our teacher goes to let him up the second time, right? And he lets him up. And the kid just goes right back to attacking him, bro. Like, he had been laying on the floor pinned by the teacher for a minute, and he's like, "All right, I've calmed down. Can you please let me up now? Like, I'm sorry." And our teacher finally lets him up, dude, and he just turns around and starts like kicking the teacher and going at him again, dude. So our teacher this time like puts him in a headlock instead of just pinning him, and is looking around. He's like, "Somebody go get the dean. Somebody go get the dean." But the problem is all of us are just like so entertained by this that nobody was leaving. I think I've heard of this in psychology before. It's like the spectator phenomenon. When a crowd of people is watching something bad, like everybody assumes that somebody's called 911, but nobody's actually called 911 type of thing. So he's yelling at us to go get him help from the office, but all of us are standing around like idiots, like, "Oh, wow, this is crazy. I'm sure somebody else went to the office." So nobody's gone to the office. So after like 5 minutes of this kid still just freaking out on the teacher trying to get out of his headlock, like somebody had gone to the office. So the deans come in and they break everything up and they're like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" And the teacher dude is like, "I don't even know. We were wrestling and then he lost and like he just started going berserk." And obviously the dean was like didn't believe it. So they break down. They start pulling each of us out and like questioning us separately to figure out what happened. But sure enough, yeah, all of us kind of explained that like they were doing a demonstration for wrestling and the kid just freaked out and started, scratching the teacher and all that stuff. And obviously the deans, once they got through like 5 of us and realized that all of us were telling the exact same story and it looked like the kid had been the instigator, they actually believed us, which is a first. Usually, the deans just do whatever they please and then like, pretend that they listen to you. But nah, they actually ended up listening. The kid got removed from the PE class. I actually never really saw him again. My school was pretty like big though, student wise, so I don't know, maybe I just never saw him again. Maybe that was his decision to not be emo anymore, dude. I hope O'Malley figured it out, because I'm gonna be honest, it was not a good look to see him crying on the ground and then trying to trick the principal into letting, or not the principal, the teacher out of letting him out of the headlock so he could fight him again, dude. I do have to give him credit for follow through, dude. I feel like the first time I got pinned by the teacher, I probably would have given up, but the fact that he came back, and the weirdest part is, not only was he fighting the teacher, but he was fighting dirty, dude. As I said, he was scratching, he was biting him, he was like spitting at him. It was insane. It was literally like watching a Tasmanian devil, or what I could only assume. I've never seen a real Tasmanian devil. I've only seen the dude from the Looney Tunes looking guy, but yeah, something like that is genuinely what it was. I'm gonna be honest though, I've seen a couple people fight the teacher. It never works out though, because you're always gonna get in more trouble. Like, let's be honest here. Who do you think the principal is gonna side with? Even if the teacher is in the wrong and you have every reason to fight him, bro. Like, the principal's not siding with you. You are definitely taking the L on that one, because they're just gonna believe the teacher. There's really nothing that you can do about it. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to press the like button. Let me know in the comment section down below if you enjoyed the video, all that good stuff. If you've made it this far into the video and you enjoyed it, go ahead and comment the word teacher down below. It just lets me know that you guys made it this far, and it helps the video do better and recommended, and I would really appreciate that. Other than that, be sure to get yourself some of the OG Sub Club or the Ha merch. They're both pretty fire if you do ask me, and with the Christmas quickly approaching, it's definitely worth it because, I don't know, swag or whatever, dude. I'm not gonna Jake Paul you guys and pretend that my merch is gonna make you the coolest kid in school, but I can promise you that Princess Leia will definitely visit you in your dreams if you get it, you know. How do I know that? I'm subconsciously planting it in your mind now. Anyways, if you're new, subscribe, turn on notifications. I post videos like this every single day. And other than that, that's going to do it for the video. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.